The story of the 300 Spartans at Thermopylae is remembered as one of history's greatest last stands. 300 warriors, facing an empire, fighting until death to delay the unstoppable Persian invasion. But what history often forgets is that Thermopylae was not the end of Sparta's war. It was the beginning of its vengeance. 1 year later, the Spartans returned not as a doomed rearguard, but as a disciplined, merciless army of 10,000 elite hoplites. What followed at the Battle of Plataea would shatter the Persian invasion forever, and prove that the sacrifice of the 300 had not been in vain. In 480 BCE, King Leonidas and his 300 Spartans held the narrow pass of Thermopylae against the vast forces of Persian kings. Outnumbered beyond imagination, the Spartans fought with brutal efficiency for days, killing thousands before betrayal exposed their position. Leonidas dismissed most of the Greek allies and stayed behind with his Spartans, Thespians and Thebans, knowing they would not survive. When the final attack came, the Spartans fought without fear, without retreat, and without mercy. Every man died. Greece mourned, but Sparta prepared for war. To the Persians, Thermopylae was a victory. Greece lay open. Athens was burned. Xerxes believed resistance was broken, but the Persian king misunderstood Spartan warfare. Sparta did not fight for glory alone. It fought for honor, memory, and revenge. Every Spartan child was raised with the names of the fallen engraved into their identity. The death of Leonidas was not a tragedy to forget, it was a debt to be paid in blood. In the year following Thermopylae, the Greek city-states regrouped. Athens rebuilt its navy and defeated the Persian fleet at Salamis, trapping Xerxes' forces in hostile territory. Though Xerxes returned to Persia, he left behind a massive army under General Mardonius to finish the conquest of Greece. The Persians still outnumbered the Greeks, still held vast resources, and still believed Greek unity would collapse. They were wrong. Sparta mobilized its full military strength. For the first time in generations, the Spartans committed 10,000 full Spartan hoplite citizen soldiers, trained from childhood for war. Alongside them marched tens of thousands of allies from across Greece. This was not a desperate stand. It was a calculated march toward annihilation. The Greek army advanced into Boeotia, near the town of Plataea. There, on open ground, the Persians waited. Mardonius chose the battlefield carefully, believing Persian cavalry and archers would dominate. The Greeks took positions in the foothills, refusing to fight on Persian terms. 4 days, the two armies stared at each other. Skirmishes erupted. Persian cavalry harassed Greek supply lines. Tension grew. The stalemate could not last. Then came chaos. Greek supply routes were disrupted, water sources were attacked, and confusion spread through the Allied camps. During a night movement meant to reposition forces, Greek units became scattered. To the Persians, it appeared that the Greeks were retreating. Mardonius seized the moment. He ordered a full-scale attack, convinced victory was finally within reach. At dawn, the Persians charged. What they ran into was not a retreat but a Spartan ambush of steel and discipline. The Spartans reformed under fire with terrifying precision. Shields locked, spears leveled, bronze armor gleaming beneath the sun. As Persian arrows rained down, the Spartans advanced without breaking formation. When the lines collided, the difference between the two armies became brutally clear. Persian infantry, lightly armored and armed with short spears and bows, stood no chance against Spartan hoplites trained to kill at close range. The Spartans did not fight as individuals. They fought as a single weapon. Each push of the shield drove Persians backward. Each spear thrust killed with mechanical efficiency. When spears broke, swords finished the work. The ground turned red. Persian units collapsed under the pressure. Panic spread through their ranks. At the heart of the battle, General Mardonius rode forward, attempting to rally his men. He believed killing the Spartan leadership would break the Greek line, just as Leonidas' death had ended Thermopylae. But this time, Sparta had learned. There would be no heroic last stand. There would be no retreat. A Spartan struck Mardonius down, crushing his skull. The Persian commander fell from his horse, dead in the dust. The moment Mardonius died, the Persian army broke. What followed was not a battle, it was slaughter. The Spartans pursued relentlessly. Persian soldiers fled toward their fortified camp, but discipline was gone. Greek allies surged forward, overwhelming defenses. The Persian camp was stormed. Thousands were cut down as they tried to escape. The army that had once threatened all of Greece ceased to exist in a single day. By sunset, the Persian invasion of mainland Greece was over. The victory at Plataea was total. Of the vast Persian force left behind by Xerxes, only a fraction survived. Greek casualties were minimal by comparison. Sparta had not merely won, it had avenged Leonidas and the 300 in the most absolute way possible. Where Thermopylae was sacrifice, Plataea was judgment. The symbolism was unmistakable. At Thermopylae, the Spartans proved that free men could stand against an empire. At Plataea, they proved that empires could bleed, break, and die. The aftermath reshaped history. Persia would never again seriously threaten Greece. Greek confidence soared. Athens would soon rise into its golden age. Sparta cemented its reputation as the most feared land army in the world. The legacy of the 300 became immortal, not because they died, but because Sparta ensured their deaths were answered. In Sparta, memory was sacred. The fallen of Thermopylae were not mourned as victims, but honored as the spark that ignited victory. Plataea was not fought for territory or riches. It was fought to balance the scales of honor. The Spartans believed a debt unpaid was a wound that never healed, and at Plataea, that wound was closed. The world remembers the 300 because they chose death over surrender. But it should also remember the 10,000 Spartans who chose discipline over rage, unity over pride, and annihilation over mercy. Together, they proved a timeless truth of history that courage may inspire legends, but organized vengeance changes the fate of nations. This was not just revenge. This was Sparta finishing the war.